Hey everybody, this is Craig Rigsby, acupuncturist, herbalist, and Qigong meditation teacher. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, or shoot me a text. I want to make sure all systems are working. Great. All right, welcome. So one of the things that's been coming up a lot this week and that I want to start diving into, it's kind of a deep topic, but I call it the 3 Fs: fear, fuel, and focus. So fear being one of the main things I want to talk about today, because for so many people, especially, it's brought to light more this year than any in the past, but it feels like this past year has also brought things to the surface, not just around everything that's gone on in the outer world, but there's also this kind of alchemy process that's happening for a lot of people, or it might not even be alchemy for you yet, but there may be a knock on the door as fears rise to the surface. So I want to start bringing tools into the sphere so that we can know how to navigate fear from a more of a bird's eye view than being kind of stuck in the visceral physiological responses that we tend to be habituated into. So fear can be one of these things that is like an operating system, right? You have your computer. If you have the right software in there, it's running smoothly, but you put something corrupt in there and it starts to glitch. Well, our energy system is the same way. Ideally, we want to be running on soul. We want to be running on light. We want to be running on good emotion. We want to be running on peace. We want to be running on greens, herbs, things that give our prana, or our life force energy field, the right stuff. So fear is like a short circuit kind of food. It'd be like, just taking on fried, greasy food and sugar all day. So if we're running our body on fear, you're basically doing the same thing. And this can happen in very subtle ways. We can do a little exploration here and see if there's even subtle, obviously for a lot of people, there's overt things where we might have fear about. You can just turn on the media and see how fear is just getting projected by people constantly. Fear of not enough of, you name it, money, food, X, Y, and Z. We can be running our energy system on those kind of scenarios, but we can also be, and also taking on board other people's fears, media fear, whoever, people you come across, wherever, we're always emitting a vibratory field. And for some of us who may be more sensitive to energy than others, you can pass by somebody in a supermarket and go, ooh, wow, I kind of felt something weird there. Or after I left that party, I've just been off. So it's important. We talked about this last week, of taking kind of what we call an energy shower, cleansing yourself. So meditation's a good way, but also just becoming aware of what kind of programs you're running in your mind. So you might even take an inventory. For instance, you might even be running your relationship on not wanting to be abandoned. So there may be subtle elements. Or you might be running your business on, God, I hope there's going to be enough. So here's elements where fear can be running the show when you don't really want it to be. If you're in business, you want to be running your business on service and love. If you're in the same thing with your relationship, how can I be in service? How can I be loving myself and connecting? So there was an exercise that I've never done this before. So we're going to try this. I was just meditating before we joined in today, and asked for some guidance on something we can do. There's a lot of things we can do, but something unique to the moment that we can do to help us with fears. And so I kind of touched on I've touched on the fear, but the fuel, how we're using fear as fuel. We want to shift gears out of that. And so this little practice will at least start the process. And then through this, we can use this as an entryway into a deeper inquiry within ourselves. So what I want you to do is take your left hand and touch your thumb to your first finger. And this creates an energy circuit of, so we have the lung system and the large intestine system. So large intestine is all about letting go. You could think of it in physical terms, but we also think of it that way metaphysically. The large intestine system, when we activate it, is like help us to release things that we don't necessarily need to be running on anymore. The lung system, which connects here and runs up the arm, the lungs are all about inspiration, just in the same way that you would be taking a nice in-breath, inspiring. You would also, the lung system is also where we access our spiritual and emotional inspiration. So you're going to connect these two dots and just put that hand on your lap or on your thigh or wherever you like. And then with the other hand, you're going to take these two fingers, the right hand, and you're just going to touch those to the space between your eyebrows. This is a really powerful energy center. We use it a lot in acupuncture. It's very calming. It helps balance the pituitary and pineal glands inside the brain to help balance your hormones. And we're just going to lightly rest our fingers there. And then what I want you to do is just close your eyes. Let your spine get a little taller. And then you're going to take an easy inhale through your nose. And then exhale out your nose. And just start to do that in a smooth, even fashion. You don't have to hold the breath or anything like that, but you can if you want, if it feels good. And as you do this, just feel how the breath comes up into that space behind your fingers. Just feel like the life force rising up into that space behind your fingers and your eyebrows. And we'll just do 10, 15 breaths here. If your right arm gets tired of holding that spot, then you can put it down, give it a rest, put it back up again, or just leave it down. And once you've got connected to the space between your eyebrows, that's really all this is about. And with each in-breath and out-breath, settle a little more into this moment. Whatever's going on out there, while it may have weight in your life, in this moment, all there really is you and the breathing. And this idea that right now is just you and the breathing really ties into the third F of focus. So the more time that we spend focusing in a certain domain, the more we activate that vibration in our field, the more that vibration takes on characteristics, outpicturings in our physical life, in our emotional life. So even just simply focusing in the calming space between your eyebrows, you're not only energizing acupuncture point, you're shifting your focus. Shifting your focus into a space where fear doesn't really exist. Because fear exists in the future. But we can activate that in our now moment energy if we're overly attuned to potential outcomes. And if you get kind of tired, you can just let your right hand come down, and you might even touch the thumb and the forefinger and let that hand come down, and just keep your eyes closed and breathing into that space between your eyebrows. And we'll just hang out here for another minute or two, getting more in touch with the moment. I like to bring a little smile to the corners of my lips. It does create a physiological shift in your cells and in your field. So even if there's other energies at play in your outer landscape or even in your inner landscape, sometimes when you get really present, you can start to feel some of the things you've held down, some of the energies. Just keep noticing what's here right now. So bringing this smile to the corners of your lips is an ancient Qigong practice called the inner smile. And you can feel as you're smiling in the corners of your lips that that smile also can permeate into the space between your eyebrows. If that doesn't make sense, you can even just imagine that there's cells in your forehead that are smiling or percolating. And as you're doing this, you may start to come into an inquiry about your fuel. What kind of fuel are you running on? And as you explore this a little bit, be mindful not to go into any kind of judgment about how you might be doing that, because the exploration of all the subtle operating systems of how fear works in our lives is a deep one. So if you start to beat on yourself for certain elements of putting fuel in your body that isn't really the highest source, if you will, then you'll be on a slippery slope. So just take a minute and take some inventory. How am I running my life? What are my fuel sources? How much of that fuel is fear? Am I afraid that I'm going to fail? Am I afraid I'm going to lose my house? Am I afraid that my kids will leave? Am I afraid of getting old? Or it might be kind of more global things happening. And just being honest, but not brutal. and then see if there's one of those elements that feels more relevant to your life right now, or more standoutish. And if there is one, great. We have a nice entry portal to start renegotiating your software. If there isn't one, but maybe you just have a general sense of, well, there's probably something, but I'm not really that connected to it right now. That's okay too. It's not that important that you lock in on something. So in last week's session, we did a little bit of tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. And we're going to do a little bit more of that today too, with a little more of this specific targeting in mind. The idea that will help your energy system to be in rapport with whatever fears are lurking about, without short-circuiting into the visceral energy of fear, into the way that most of us have kind of this low-grade stress level. A lot of that low-grade stress level that a lot of people are running on is the fear, and a lot of that fear is kind of below the surface a little bit. So we're just bringing it up to like, hey, hi fear, it's okay, I love you. Oftentimes, fears are almost like, you might say, injected into us when we're young. You might have come into the world in your birth with your mom in fear, or the doctors in fear, or you might have been in utero and have your mom was running certain tape loops in her physiology that got handed into your system. If that's the case, and for most of us it is, it's not a problem. We have all these technologies that we can use to renegotiate our DNA. They've shown that we can change our DNA, we can change our genetic structure. So, working with PTSD and all kinds of things, lineage, energy that's been transmitted through our lineage into us can be worked with. And we're going to do that right now. So now we're going to do a little bit of tapping, so you can open your eyes if you want. You might want to keep them kind of soft and in that internal space. And just notice where in your body, when you tune into some of the fear, where is it hanging out? You might feel like, oh, my chest feels a little tight, or my throat, or oh, all of a sudden my head feels pressurized, or my gut. Some people will feel things in their legs, like I want to run, or I can't run, or things like this. So just just closing your eyes a little more, getting in touch with where in your body are you noticing things? What are you noticing? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is the feeling when you tune into it? And so now that you're tuned in to your being, we want to make a distinction here. Like right now, you're tuning into fear as residue. This is different than when you're very mentalized and futurizing potential events. You're actually tuning into where the residue is now in your body. So it's a subtle difference of coming into rapport with your inner landscape. Because when we're not in rapport with our inner landscape, we don't have access to the peace that's also inside us. So when we're just in fear, tripping out about what's going on out there or what's going to happen, uh, we're not able to access soul. We're not able to access our light body. So those two things are always existing concurrently, but where we put our focus, our consciousness, determines uh, the degree that we can take these energies where the short circuits might be residing in our physiology and integrate them into the bigger us, if you will. So what I want you to do is, now that you're tapped in or tuning in to that feeling, I want you to just tap the side of your hand, right where your pinky is. There's a fleshy part of your hand there. I just want you to tap that. And then I want you to say, even though I have this feeling in my, wherever it is, it might be your whole body, it might be somewhere localized. Even though I have this feeling, even though I have this fear, and you might even name more specifically, I have a fear of blah, blah, X, Y, Z. Right now, I'm right here. So you can say that, right now, I'm right here. Even though I have this fear of X, Y, and Z, right now, I'm right here. And you might say, I'm doing my best. Or we can even extend that to, I'm working on loving myself more. You can try any of those on and see. Anything like that is a positive statement that helps reroute the energy. So we're basically teaching your meridians, the channels where acupuncture works on, to flow energy no matter what you say, think, or do. So we're basically giving you this verbal recipe to help reroute the energy, or chi. So and then I want you to tap the top of your head, even though I have this X, Y, and Z, this fear. And then I want you to tap right here on your eyebrow. Could be one side or the other, doesn't matter which one. You can say this fear, this feeling in my chest, this feeling in my legs, wherever it is. And then come to the outside of your eye, this fear, this feeling. And then come to right under your eye, this fear, this feeling. Under your nose, this fear, this feeling. And you're going to tap under your lip, this fear, this feeling. And then right under your collarbone, right here where your collarbone meets your sternum, you can tap there, this fear, this feeling. And then you can tap on your ribs. I'm going to stand up a little bit here, right here under your ribs. Tap there. All these points we're tapping on are on acupuncture points, meridians that help stimulate the flow of energy. Good. Now take a nice deep breath through your mouth. And let that out. And if your eyes aren't already closed, close them again and tune back in to your body. And just notice if anything shifted in that feeling. Perhaps the edge or the intensity of it has gone down, and that's great. And maybe y'all can give me some feedback on if you've felt a decrease in whatever you were feeling before, if you're feeling softer or more relaxed or not. Maybe you can type it in the chat. Unless you're just in the zone, you don't have to. That's okay too. So if you feel like you want to keep working on this, we can do one more round. This time I'm going to deepen the verbal recipe that we do. So tapping the side of your hand again. If it's already gone down to a 0 or you're like, I just feel clear and clean, great. You can tap again, because tapping is kind of like a little mini acupuncture. Great. I'm seeing people say I feel better. So just tap again. And this time you can tap and say, even though I have this feeling, I'm realizing there's another part of me too. There's a part of me that's connected to all that is. There's a part of me that can focus on places in my body that feel safe. This fear isn't the real me. You can tap the top of your head. You might even say something like, I'm the infinite soul. Learning to navigate energy. You can tap on your eyes. You can also simply stick with the previous formula of the fear in my chest. I'll come and tap the side of your eyes. Even though I have this fear, I realize I'm a soul on an infinite journey. Tapping under your eye. Good, I'm seeing some nice feedback coming in. Tapping under your nose. You might even say something like, the soul that I am knows where it's going, even if I don't. And this is true. And we'll get deeper into that in future episodes. How we can align to the soul's knowing. Tapping under your lip. Get more tapped into the real fuel through real focus. And tapping on the collarbones. Tapping on those rib points again. And then just let your hands rest softly on your lap. And just feeling your body. You may notice that now that you're here, feeling your body, some of the life's landscape is a little more distant, maybe a little further away. And if you do notice that, it's important to get in touch with this as your true nature. Your true nature is relatively unfettered. It's only when we overindulge in the future or in the past that we create unnecessary suffering, pain. Not to say that there isn't a journey where these things can be there, but that we also have this infinite gateway in this present moment to feel our beingness in a new way, a different way that's less connected to the mental landscape and more connected to the soulscape that we truly are. So if you feel like you want to do more of the tapping, you can go through more and more rounds of this. You can take off from here if you like and tap away. There's also a video on tapping on my YouTube channel. You can go to Prana Mountain, Prana Mountain. And yeah, there's some good resources there. And if you have any questions, you can type those into the chat right now and we can answer those. I highly encourage you, if you have a few moments, just to soak in the feeling that you just created. And if there's still more unfolding or unraveling to do with the fear, then good to just ease your way into that with some more tapping, some more meditation. And you can even come back into the meditation we were doing in the beginning. That's great. Okay. I'll be here every Wednesday, so I look forward to seeing you here again. And I'll sign off now. Have a great evening.